Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Should You Play, where I show you some spoiler-free gameplay and give you my thoughts after playing new games for a few hours, while also highlighting and checking out at least one of the PlayStation Plus games for each month. In this video I'm playing DC Worlds Collide, the DC Comics mobile game where the universe's most powerful characters come together to stop a global and chaotic invasion. I've said it before and I'll say it again, I'm generally not a big fan of mobile games like this, but after reviewing Marvel Mystic Mayhem last week, it only felt right to try out DC's latest mobile title as well. There's a good amount of good here, but of course it's not a flawless game either, so let's talk about the specifics and just get into it. DC Worlds Collide kicks off with Pandora's box being used to open a portal, allowing the crime syndicate to leave their dying world to invade Earth. The Justice League immediately responds to the attack, but quickly disappears in the battle, leaving only Batman and Catwoman behind to carry on the mission. The two then retreat to a hidden Star Labs facility and begin using a mother box to recruit other heroes and villains to aid their fight. I don't know a whole lot about the crime syndicate beyond them being the evil version of the Justice League, but I appreciate their use here because, especially in DC games, we're so used to getting the Joker and the rest of the Rogues Gallery as the main villains. The overall story isn't half bad either, and the dialogue feels natural to how certain characters would be interacting with each other, but the game's presentation doesn't do it a complete justice, and I'll get into the specifics of that later on here. Gameplay in DC Worlds Collide is a familiar mix of idle RPG combat and turn-based strategy. You field a team of up to 5 characters at a time in a format of 2 up front and 3 in the back line, and it's important to lay out your characters in a strategic way because team composition does matter here. Not only do the characters you choose matter, but how you arrange them on the battlefield matters as well, because each class of character has a corresponding strength and weakness. Mighty characters are strong against agile characters are strong against tactical characters, and tactical characters are strong against mighty characters. Heroes and villains are also broken up into 3 additional classifications: tanks, DPS, and support. DPS characters like Batman and Starfire excel at dealing damage, while tanks like King Shark and Captain Cold soak up hits for the team, and support characters like Harley Quinn and Black Canary can heal and dish out buffs and debuffs. The game also features a surprisingly large launch roster of over 60 DC characters, ranging from Superman, Wonder Woman, and The Flash, all the way to some lesser-known ones like the Phantom Stranger, Mirror Master, and Frankenstein. Unlocking characters requires a bit of time and luck, but after playing for about 10 hours, I'd already unlocked 26 without spending a single penny. Combat is automatic, but you can still trigger skills manually as they charge up, and you can play at normal speed, 2 times speed, or even 3 times speed if you think the game is going too slowly, though it is worth noting that most battles usually only last about a minute or two. The first 20 minutes or so of the game is a bit sluggish, with about 90% of it being cutscenes and dialogue, but it does pick up after that and opens up significantly. Characters can be enhanced with equipment, leveled up individually, and promoted with materials that you gather from playing different modes. Some characters are unlocked by progressing through the story or completing missions, while others are only available through the gacha lottery. Thankfully, there is a pity system in place though, with starter recruitment guaranteeing an epic after 30 pulls and epic recruitment guaranteeing one after 40, which is a nice touch of transparency. There's also an idle collection mechanic where you'll still pool resources while away from the game, so even when you're not actively playing, you'll still be able to earn progression materials. There are about a dozen or so game modes here, but the main one you'll be spending time in is the main stage, which follows the story of the crime syndicate invasion. As you continue playing, you'll unlock many of the other modes, such as War World, which is the PvP hub, and Evil Falls, which is where you can take on syndicate members and boss battles. There's also Convergence, where you can travel to different DC locations for short combat missions, as well as a ton of smaller progression-focused areas like bunks and reinforcement, where you can earn materials to strengthen your team. What I appreciate most here is that the game does a decent job of easing you into all of these different modes gradually. You never feel completely overwhelmed, and the core gameplay loop stays easy to follow, so with each mode being introduced after a good amount of time, it's easy to completely learn one before you move on to the next. So let's talk monetization, because DC Worlds Collide is a free-to-play game, but it doesn't mean that it's faultless with how the purchases are presented. There are monetization pop-ups as soon as you boot the game up, and one of the early story beats literally asks you if you want to buy a character right after clearing their mission. Aside from a few of them, you can't outright buy characters either, but you are able to buy in-game currencies to use on the recruitment gacha system. There are also bundles, battle passes, and other premium items, but I will give the game credit because even with the later stages being a bit grindy, I never felt like I hit a paywall. If you're willing to put the time in, you can absolutely get through the game without spending any real money, but paying would definitely speed things up and make it a smoother experience. DC Worlds Collide's presentation is where things start to slip a bit. The game has a clean and colorful art style that reminds me a lot of the now legacy game Multiverses, but it's just a little too plastic for me personally. The character designs are good and instantly recognizable for any DC fan, but the animations get repetitive fast because there's no variety to them at all, during conversations or in combat. Animated cutscenes also don't have any voice acting, and the subtitles often leave the screen far too quickly, which really hurts the story in my opinion, especially because the writing isn't bad. At a certain point, I actually found myself wishing that they'd just gone with static comic-style panels instead, as it might have looked a little less lifeless. There are also some jagged shadows here and there, but graphics-wise, it looks pretty great for a mobile title. Having come off of Marvel Mystic Mayhem so recently though, I just wish that this had a stronger presentation and maybe some voice acting every now and then. Performance-wise, the game runs mostly fine, but there are a few notable issues here and there. I had characters pop in and out of cutscenes, experience some stuttering when leveling up characters, and I ran into a couple of instances where the health bar stuck around on the screen during battle animations. I also enabled auto challenge at one point, which is supposed to auto queue the next battle after a few seconds, but I haven't been able to shut it off since. The game acknowledges the input from my tapping, but it's just not registering the toggle at all. Battery drain and hardware stress are also something to consider here. I'm playing this on an iPhone 14, and my phone is in pretty good shape, but I did receive a few overheating notifications when I had the graphics cranked up to the highest settings. Turning things down a bit does obviously help, but if you're playing away from a charger, you should still expect it to chew through your battery fairly quickly. DC Worlds Collide is a fine game. It's not doing anything revolutionary, but it's a surprisingly competent idle RPG with just enough strategy and DC flavor to keep things interesting. The lack of voice acting and variety in animation are both a bit of a letdown, especially given the decent quality of the story, and while the grind will eventually wear down some players, there's always something to do. It's also pretty great to see some lesser known characters like the Question and Mirror Master get some screen time alongside Batman and Harley Quinn, and at the end of the day, it's a free-to-play game, so there's no downside to just trying it out yourself. As always though, this is just my opinion. Whether you've just started assembling your league, or you've already stopped the crime syndicate from taking over the world, let me know in the comments what you think of DC Worlds Collide. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.